Boom. Boom. Okay. Y'all, it is starting to get cold. But I'm trying to figure out if I'm putting my heat on. Cause what? Heat is expensive, but it's cold in here. Okay, so today we are reading Judges 14 to the end, which is like 21. Y'all want to know something that's really crazy? I have a confession to make. I was teaching my kids at church when I was like teaching the books of the Bible, and I don't even know all of them. That's wild. But hopefully by the end of the year, I don't know all of them. So yeah, that's funny. Anyway, we are going to start. I think the last time I read, I said Solomon, but I meant Samson when I guessed who the child was going to be. But it's okay. So we're going to pray and we're going to get into it. So, dear Lord, thank you for another day. Thank you for your love. Thank you for Saturdays. Thank you for weekends that don't have a lot of plans. We love that. We love going to the gym. We love being able to read your word and not be all over the place. We love when we go to Chipotle. We just love it. We love the financial provision that you provided and even transportation. And I just pray that you just continue to provide. And yes, I hope my friend get home safely from driving. And I just pray that this word just touches my heart. And in my prayer, amen. Amen. So I'm about to just add stuff on here. But I keep saying this in the beginning, which I already know, but it's okay because I'm going to continue to say it until I'm caught up. We are trying to catch up from all that traveling that I was doing. So yeah, that's what we're doing. All right. So anyway, chapter 14. Samson seeks a Philistine wife, which is a no-no. Now Samson went to Timnah and saw a woman in Timnah of the daughters of Philistines. And he went up and told his father and mother, saying, I have seen a woman in Timnah, the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me as a wife. Then his father and mother said to him, Is there no woman among the daughters of your brethren or among all my people that you must go and get a wife from the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said to his father, Get her for me, for she pleases me well. But his father and mother did not know that it was of the Lord, that he was seeking an occasion to move against the Philistines. For at that moment the Philistines had dominion over Israel. So Samson went down to Timnah with his father and mother and came to the vineyards of Timnah. Now to his surprise, a young lion came roaring against him, and the Spirit of the Lord made mightily upon him, and he tore the lion apart as one had torn apart the young goat, though he had nothing in his hand, but he did not tell his father or his mother what he had done. Then he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. After some time, when he returned to get her, he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion, and behold, a swarm of bees and honey were in the carcass of the lion. So he took some of it in his hands and went along eating. Confused. Hold on. Because, first of all, Samson's supposed to be set apart. First of all, Samson is supposed to be set apart because he came from a Nazarite. Hold on. Yeah, he was not with her. Look, the man came the other day. Yes, so he's supposed to be set apart because he's already a Nazarite. So, first of all, he's supposed to be set apart. Second off, he wants a Philistine wife. And his parents is like, I don't think you should be doing that. Also, he killed the animal from the Lord, like having the Spirit of the Lord on him. and then he touched the carcass, which I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to be doing since you're set apart. You're not supposed to be touching anything dead, even though there were honey in the carcass of the lion. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure if you're supposed to be doing that. Hmm. When he came to his father and mother, he gave some to them, and they also ate. But he did not tell them that he had taken honey out of the carcass of the lion. So he did not tell them that he killed the lion, and then he didn't even tell them that the honey came from the carcass of the lion, because they're not supposed to be touching dead stuff. So he's just being bogus. Anyway, so Samson poses a riddle. So his father went down to the woman, and Samson gave a feast there, for young men used to do so. And it happened when they saw him that they brought 30 companions to be with him. Then Samson said to them, "Let me pose a riddle to you. If you can correctly solve it and explain it to me within 7 days of the feast, then I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothing. But if you cannot explain it to me, then you shall give me 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothing." And they said to him, "Pose your riddle that we may hear it." So he said to them, "Out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something sweet." Mind you, this is something that didn't nobody know. Like, didn't nobody know he killed this lion or about the honey? Like, what? Now, for 3 days they could not explain the riddle, but it came to pass on the seventh day, they said to Samson's wife, "Entice your husband that he may explain the riddle to us, or else we will burn you and your father's house with fire. Have you invited us in order to take what is ours? Is that not so?" Then Samson's wife wept on him, saying, "You only hate me. You do not love me. You have posed a riddle to the sons of my people, but you have not explained it to me," being shiesty. Then he said to her, "Look, I have not explained it to my father or my mother, so should I explain it to you?" Then she wept on him the 7 days while their feast lasted. And it happened on the seventh day that he told her, because she pressed him so much, she nagged him so much that he told her. Then she explained the riddle to the sons of her people. So the men of the city said to him on the seventh day before the sun went down, "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" And he said to them, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon him mightily, and he went down to Ashkelon and killed 30 of their men, took their apparel, and gave changes to the clothing of those who explained the riddle. So his anger was roused, and he went back to his father's house, and Samson's wife was given to his companion, who had been his best man. That's wild. So the wife nags him, tells a riddle to her people. They, of course, tell him, like, we know the answer. And then she goes to his father's house, and then she's given to his best man. This is giving drama. This is giving drama. And that's exactly what I just wrote in my Bible. The drama is for real, because whoa. Chapter 15, Samson burns the Philistines' fields. After a while, in the time of the wheat harvest, it happened that Samson visited his wife with a young goat. And he said, "Let me go into my wife into her room." But her father would not permit him to go in. Her father said, "I really thought that you thoroughly hated her. Therefore, I gave her to your companion. Is not her younger sister better than she? Please take her instead." This is getting worse. And Samson said to them, "This time I shall be blameless regarding the Philistines if I harm them." Then Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and he took torches, turned the foxes tail to tail, and put a torch between each pair of tails. When he had set the torches on fire, he let the foxes go in the standing grain of the Philistines, and burnt up both shocks and standing grain, as well as the vineyard and the olive groves. And the Philistine says, "Who has done this?" And they answered, "Samson, the son of Law of the Timnite, because he had taken his wife and given her to the companion." So the Philistines came up and burned her and her father with fire. Samson said to them, "Since you would do a thing like this, I will surely take revenge on you, and after that I will cease." So he attacked them hip and thigh with a great slaughter. Then he went down and dwelt in the cleft of the rock of Edom. Judah sent Samson to the Philistines. Now the Philistines went up and encamped in Judah and deployed themselves against Lehi. And the men of Judah said to them, "Why have you come up against us?" So they answered, "We have come up to arrest Samson, to do to him as he did to us." Then 3,000 men of Judah went down to the cleft rock of Edom and said to Samson, Do you not know that the Philistines rule over us? What is this that you have done to us?" And he said to them, "As they did to me, so I have done to them." And they said to him, "We have come down to arrest you, that we may deliver you into the hand of the Philistines." Then Samson said to himself, "Swear to me that you will not kill me yourselves." So they spoke to him, saying, "No, but we will tie you securely and deliver you into their hands. But we will surely not kill you." And they bound him with 2 new ropes and brought him up from the rock. Hey, I can't see who that is, but hey, message me because I really can't see who it is because it's too far. So Samson kills 1,000 men. When he came to Lehi, the Philistines came shouting against him. Then the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and the ropes that were on his arm became like flax that was burned with fire. And his bonds broke loose from his hands, and he found a fresh jawbone of a donkey and reached his hand and took it and killed thousands of men with it. Then Samson said, "With the jawbone of a donkey, heaps upon heaps, with the jawbone of the donkey, I have slain 1,000 men." Then it was, when he had finished speaking, that he threw the jawbone from his hand and called that place Ramoth Lehi, which means jawbone height. Yeah. Then he became very thirsty, so he cried out to the Lord and said, "You have given this great deliverance by the hand of your servant, and now shall I die of thirst and fall into the hand of of the uncircumcised." So God split the hollow place that is in Lehi, and water came out, and he drank, and his spirit returned, and he revived. Therefore he called his name En Hakor, which is in Lehi to this day, which means literally spring of the caller. And he judged Israel 20 years in the days of the Philistines. So peep this though. I'm not quite sure if he really has a spirit of the Lord like really on him, like the anointing of the Lord really on him, because he really hasn't been doing like following the Lord and like what he would want so far, but he does have the Lord's power on him. So you can have like the Lord's power on you and have like a gift from the Lord, but not have his blessing. Chapter 16, Samson visits a harlot in Gaza. Like it just continues to get worse. Now Samson went to Gaza and saw a harlot there and went in to her. When the Gazites were told, "Samson has come here," they surrounded the place and lay in wait for him all night at the gate of the city. They were quiet all night, saying, "In the morning, when it is daylight, we will kill him." And Samson lay low till midnight. Then he arose at midnight, took hold of the doors of the gate of the city and 2 gateposts and pulled them up, bar and all, and put them on his shoulders and carried them to the top of the hill that faces Hebron. Delilah tries to snare Samson. Afterward it happened, he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came to her and said to her, "Entice him and find out where his strength lies." This is what I'm going to do. Who is this? Okay. If you are on here, join on the link in my bio because I need to use my phone to look something up. And now, okay. So what is the Valley of Sorek? What does Sorek mean? Sorek meaning vine hissing, a color inclining to yellow. So let's see what the Valley of Sorek meaning. This says, "Where the great are brought to nothing." Mm. Okay. And the Lord of the Philistines came up to her and said, "Entice him and find out where his great strength lies, and by what means we may overpower him, and we may bind him to afflict him. And every one of us will give you 1,100 pieces of silver." Again, relationships will you have close to you. So Delilah said to Samson, "Please tell me where your great strength lies, and with you may be bound to afflict you." And Samson said to her, "If they bind me with 7 fresh bowstrings, yet not yet dried, then I shall become weak and be like any other man." So the lords of the Philistines brought up her 7 fresh bowstrings that yet not had dried, and she bound him with them. Now men were lying in wait, staying with her in the room, and she said to him, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." But he broke the bowstrings as a strand of yarn breaks when it touches fire. So the secret of his strength was not known. Then Delilah said to Samson, "Look, you have mocked me and told me lies. Now please tell me what you may be bound with." So he said to her, "If they bind me securely with new ropes that have never been used, then I shall become weak and be like any other man." Therefore Delilah took new ropes and bound with him, and said to him, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." And men were lying in wait, staying in the room, but he broke them off of his arms like a thread. Delilah said to Samson, "Until now you have mocked me and told me lies. Tell me what you will be bound with." And he said to her, "If you would weave 7 locks of my head into the web of a loom." So she wove it tightly with the band of the loom and said to him, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." But he awoke from his sleep and pulled out a batten in the web of the loom. So listen, right? Listen, right? Listen, right? So Samson has already gone through this by dating a Philistine woman. Somebody he's not supposed to be dating. And she already like turns on him and tells her people the riddle. Now you got this lady. You thought that he would have learned the last time, but of course not. So he tells her these things, but not only that, now he is kind of hinted like closer and closer and closer to like what it really is, which is his hair. But he's not telling her. But obviously, she want to know for a reason. Why do people want to know what would make you fall? What would make you weak? That doesn't make sense. Anyway, then she said to him, "How can you say I love you?" This is manipulation. "When your heart is not with me, you have mocked me these 3 times and have not told me where your great strength lies." And it came to pass when she pestered him daily with her words and pressed him, so that his soul was vexed to death, that he told her all his heart and said, "No razor has ever come upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite to God from my mother's womb. If I am shaven, then my strength will leave me, that I will become weak and be like any other man." We really got to make sure just because somebody is pestering us, do not mean that we need to be spilling the beans. This is really wild. This is really wild. This is really wild. So just because people pester / get on our nerves, we tell the business. And not only that, on the other hand, it's really showing like women, wives, girlfriends, whatever y'all want to call yourselves. We really have the power to pull out of people like their weaknesses. So we have to be careful about that too. But also another note is like, did Samson not learn from the Philistine woman? Like you would think that he would have learned with his Philistine wife, like when you are dating people who are like not really for you and like of your own, whether it be like Christianity, like they're gonna look out for their own. So, and I understand not everybody believes that, but like you believe what you believe for a reason. So if we're not believing in the same thing, then your desires for me are not going to be the same as my desires for myself since I'm a Christian. It also doesn't make sense that he was literally dedicated to God, but she did not know that. Like, how? Oh my gosh, how are you? This is a great story. Dedicated to the Lord, and your wife, not wife, your girl, I'm going to say your girl because she was not his wife, not know, question mark. And that's just like us. How are we following This is just like us. Jesus, but nobody knows. Wow. All right. When Delilah saw, verse 18 of Judges 16, when Delilah saw that he told her all of his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, "Come up once more, for he has told me all of his heart." So the lords of the Philistines came to her and brought the money in their hand. Then she lulled him to sleep on her knees and called for a man as he had him shave off 7 locks of his head. Then she began to torment him, and his strength left him. And she said, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." So he woke up from his sleep and said, "I will go out before as other times and shake myself free." He's thinking that he's gonna go out like he has done every other time, even though the other times he shouldn't even have told her his business. But he's thinking that he's gonna get up, do his normal thing. But there are certain things that we just cannot shake from because we're just in too deep. Like, we cannot give our power away like that. That's crazy. But he did not know that the Lord had departed from him, which shows that the Lord can depart from you and you not even know. Oh my God. This is a great story. The Lord can depart from you and you not even know. Lord, please do not depart from me. And if you have departed from me, please come back. I am so sorry for all the stuff that I've been doing and already did and want to do in the future. Please do not depart from me, Lord. Amen. And if you ever depart from me, please help me to know. Help me to not be out here ignorant, not even knowing that you did not depart from me, so I can ask for your Holy Spirit back. Amen. 21. Then the Philistines took him and put out his eyes and brought him down to Gaza, and they bound him with bronze fetters, and he became a grinder in the prison. However, the hairs on his head began to grow after it had been shaven, which means that people can do something to you, but they don't know, like, it'll come back. Not everything comes back right away, but it'll come back. To like that's our problem. They weren't thinking. They were not thinking. They thinking, oh, we shaved his head, not thinking hair comes back. Ridiculous. Verse 23. Now the lords of the Philistines gathered together to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon, their God, to rejoice. And they said, "Our God has delivered into our hands Samson, our enemy." Hold on, let me see if I can. I want to exit full screen on my laptop. What do I gotta press for this? Because I'm trying to look up. I need to look up who this they little quote unquote God is. Actually, let me see if I can look it up on here. What's the Dagon? Dagon, who is Dagon in the Bible? The chief god of the Philistines. What does Dagon represent in the Bible? Represents Satan. In Revelations 12, it represents Satan. Wow. Oh no, that's a dragon, not Dagon. Oh, not a dragon, y'all. Dagon. Dagon. So, the national god of the Philistines, a fish god, crop of fertility. It is a mean a day in the Philistine, agriculture and weather. Okay, so that's what it was. That's what he was worshipped for, agriculture and weather. Okay. So they were going to make a sacrifice to Dagon, their God, to rejoice. And they said, "Our God has delivered into our hands Samson, our enemy." People be thinking that they really did something and it's really the Lord, whatever. Then the people saw him and they praised their God, for they said, "Our God has delivered into our hands our enemy, the destroyer of our land, and the one who multiplied our dead." And so it happened when their hearts were merry that they said, "Call for Samson, that he may perform for us." So they called for Samson from the prison, and he performed for them, and they stationed him between two pillars. Then Samson said to the lad who helped him by hand, "Let me feel the pillars which will support the temple so I can lean on them." Now the temple was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there, about 3,000 men and women on the roof watching while Samson performed. So all y'all are watching, and it's gonna go down. Then Samson calls to the Lord, saying, "Oh Lord, remember me. Yes, remember me. I pray, strengthen me. I pray just this once. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Just this once, oh God, that I may with one blow take vengeance on the Philistines for my two eyes." So he's not even saying, "Let me take vengeance for you." He's saying, "Let me take vengeance for my two eyes." And Samson took hold of the two middle pillars which supported the temple, and he braced himself against them, one on the right and one on the left. And Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." And he pushed with all his might, and the temple fell on the lords and all the people who were in it. So the dead that he killed at his death were more than what he killed in his life. And his brothers and his father's household came down and took him and brought him up and buried him between Zorah and Eshcol in the tomb of his father Manoah. And he had judged Israel 20 years. So it's the Lord's strength that got him to where he was, with like killing all them people and killing the lion, and even like it wasn't the Lord's strength that got him like with his eyes poked out, because that was him, but it was the Lord's strength that got him all of these like kind of accolades. And then it was the Lord's strength on the other side that allowed him to kill those who were against the Lord's people. So we can use the Lord's blood, like we can use God's gift. We can use God's gifts for us, like selfishly, and we can use his gifts to glorify the Lord, because he was glorified. Like being that Samson was a Nazarite and set apart for the Lord, and then the Nazarite's the same one who killed all the people. The Lord still got glory from that. The Lord didn't get glory from him killing that lion with his bare hands, for real, and then feeding his parents with the honey from the carcass. Like he didn't get glory from that. You're not supposed to do stuff like that. But this really shows that you can give God glory with your gifts, and you can also like use your gifts for Satan's work as well. So just because you have a gift from the Lord does not mean that you're using it correctly and for the right reasons. Chapter 17, Micah and his mother obtained an idol. Now there was a man from the mountain of Ephraim whose name was Micah. And he said to his mother, "The 1,100 shekels of silver that were taken from you, and on which you put a curse, saying in my ears, here is the silver with me, I took it." And his mother said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my son." So when he had returned the 1,100 shekels of silver to his mother said, "I have wholly dedicated the silver from my hand to the Lord. For now, my son, to make a carved image, a molded image." Hold on. Where did this come from? I'm going to be right back. Whoever's on my TikTok, I'm going to be right back. I need to Google where these 1,100 shekels came from. So Micah's mom, 11. What did you say, 1,100 or 11,000? 1,100 shekels. Who took the 1,100 shekels? Because, oh, wait, was this from Samson? I'm confused. Who is Micah's mom? Who is Micah's mom? Mom in the Bible. It's Delilah. Wait, why was 1,100 shekels taken from her? Why was 1,100 shekels taken from Delilah? It says the Philistines bribed her to discover the source, but who stole? I'm really confused. So then what is my, okay, so I'm confused. I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe I just need to continue to read. Maybe I need to continue to read because it says the 1100 shekels of silver that were taken from you and on which you put a curse, and on which you put a curse, even saying to my ears, here is the silver with me. I took it. Who did Micah take the silver? Who did Micah take the 1100 shekels of silver from? Oh, wow. I'm not gonna say I'm slow, but I might say that I'm slow because wow, I did not read this correctly. So he's saying the 1100 shekels of silver that were taken from you, like they gave you 1100 shekels and it was taken from you, I took it. Like he's admitting that he took it. I was not putting that together. So his mother said, may you be blessed by the Lord, my son. So when he returned 1100 shekels of silver to his mother said, I had wholly dedicated the silver from my hand to the Lord for my son to make carved image, a molded image. Wow. May be blessed. To say, may you be blessed by the Lord and then make a carved image is crazy. This is showing you just because people say Lord do not mean that they really walk in it. Saying Lord does not equate to walking righteously. That's really crazy. In as much, okay. I have wholly dedicated silver from my hand to the Lord for my son to make a carved image and a molded image. So I'm gonna just underline that along with the may you be blessed by the Lord. Man, people really be saying Lord and it really don't even be nothing about our Lord. That's crazy. Now therefore I will return it to you. Thus he returned the silver to his mother. Then his mother took 200 shekels of silver and gave them to the silversmith, and he made a carved image, a molded image, and they were in the house of Micah. The man Micah had a shrine and made an ephod and household idols. Where's A at? Where's A at? Okay. Household idols. Where are you? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? And he consecrated one of his sons who became his priest. How are you going to consecrate somebody to become your priest and not the Lord? In those days, there was no king in Israel, and everybody did what was right in their own eyes. This is what happens when you have lack of leadership. Lack of leadership will have people just doing stuff that they think is right in their own eyes. Wow. Micah hires a Levite as a priest. Thank you, a Levite at least. Now there was a young man from Bethlehem in Judah of the family of Judah. He was a Levite and was staying there. The man departed from the city of Bethlehem in Judah to stay wherever he could find a place. Then he came to the mountains of Ephraim to the house of Micah and as he journeyed. And Micah said to him, where do you come from? And he said to him, I'm a Levite from Bethlehem in Judah, and I am on my way to find a place to stay. And Micah said to him, dwell with me and be a father and a priest to me, and I will give you 10 shekels of silver per year, a suit of clothes, and your sustenance. So the Levite went in. Then the Levite was content to dwell with the man, and the young man became like one of his sons, one of his sons to him. So Micah consecrated the Levite, and the young man became his priest and lived in the house of Micah. Then Micah said, now that I know that the Lord will be good to me, since I have a Levite as a priest. Wow. This really shows, though, like people really do be needing leadership. Like he said, stay with me and be a priest to me. People do really like leadership. Okay. Chapter 18, men from Dan visit the priest. Now in those days there was no king of Israel, and in those days of the tribe, the Danites were seeking inheritance for itself to dwell in. For until that day their inheritance among the tribe of Israel had not fallen to them. So the children of Dan sent 5 men from their family to their territory, men of valor from Zorah and Eshtaol, to spy out the land and search it. And they said to them, go search the land. So they went to the mountains of Ephraim to the house of Micah and lodged there. While they were at the house of Micah, they recognized the voice of the young Levite. They turned aside and said to him, who brought you here? What are you doing in this place? And what do you have here? He said to them, thus and so Micah did for me. He has hired me, and I have become his priest. So they said to him, please inquire of God. that we may know whether to journey on which we will go to be prosperous. And the priest said to them, Go in peace, the presence of the Lord be with you on your way. The priest joins the Danites. So the 5 men departed and went to Laish. They saw the people who were there and how they dwelt safely in the manner of the Sidonians, quiet and secure. There were no rulers in the land who might put them to shame for anything. They were far from the Sidonians and had no ties with anyone. Then the spies came back to their brethren at Zorah and Eshtaol and said to their brethren, What is your report? And they said, Arise, let us go against them, for we have seen the land, and indeed it is very good. Would you do nothing? Do not hesitate to go and enter to possess the land. When you go, you will come to a secure people in a large land, for God has given it to your hand, a place where there is no lack of anything that is on the earth. And 600 men of the family of the Danites went there from Zorah and Eshtaol, armed with weapons of war. Then they went up and encamped in Kirjath-jearim in Judah, and they passed from there to the mountains of Ephraim and came to the house of Micah. Then the 5 men who had gone out to spy in the country of Laish answered and said to their brethren, Do you know that there are in these houses an ephod, household idols, a carved image, and molded image? Now therefore consider what you should do. So they turned aside there and came to the house of a young Levite man, to the house of Micah, and greeted him. The 600 men armed with their weapons of war, who were from the children of Dan, stood by the entrance of the gate. Then the 5 men who gone to spy out the land went up. Entering there, they took the carved image, the ephod, the household idols, and the molded image. The priest stood at the entrance of the gate with 600 men who were armed with their weapons of war. When these went to Micah's house, they took the carved image, the ephod, the household idols, and the molded image. And the priest said to him, What are you doing? They said to him, Be quiet and put your hand over your mouth and come with us to be a father and a priest to us. Is it better for you to be a priest to the household for one man, or to be the priest to a tribe and a family in Israel? So the priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod, the household idols, and the carved images, and took his place among the people. So the priest, the Levite, tripping. Because first of all, he's in the house with this man who has all this stuff. And maybe he was being like open to it because he needed a place to stay. But for him to go with the Danites and still bring that is wild. The Danites conquer Laish. When they turned and departed and put little ones, the livestock and goods in front of them. When they were a good way from the house of Micah, the men who were on the houses near Micah's house gathered together and overtook the children of Dan. And they called out to the children of Dan, and they turned around and said to Micah, What ails you that you have gathered such company? And he said, You take away my gods which I have made, and the priests, and you have gone away. Now what more do I have? How can you say to me, What ails you? And the children of Dan said to him, Do not let your voice be heard among us, lest angry men fall upon you and you lose your life with the lives of your household. Then the children of Dan went their way, and when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back to his house. So they took things Micah made and the priests who belonged to him and went to Laish to a people quiet and secure, and they struck them with the edge of the sword and burned the city with fire. There was no deliverer because it was too far from Sidon, and they had no ties with anyone. It was in the valley that belongs to Beth Rehob, where they rebuilt the city and dwelt there. And they called the name of the city of Dan, and not after the name of Dan, their father, who was born to Israel. However, the name of the city was formerly Laish. Then the children of Dan set up for themselves a carved image, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, and his son were the priests of the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land. So they set up for themselves Micah's carved image, which he made, and all the time of the house of God was in Shiloh. This is ridiculous. This shows us, though, hold on, there was no deliverer because it was too far, and they had no ties with anyone. Which we talk about relationships multiple times. Pray for relationships. Pray for relationships so then when stuff happens, you got people that you can call, okay? A Levite retrieves his concubine. This is really wild. A Levite retrieves his concubine. And it came into pass In those days, when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite staying in the remote mountains of Ephraim, and he took for himself a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah. But his concubine played the harlot against him and went away from him to her father's house in Bethlehem in Judah. And there was 4 months. Then her husband arose and went after her to speak kindly to her and bring her back, having his servant and a couple of donkeys with him. So she brought him into her father's house, and when the father of the young woman saw him, he was glad to meet him. Now his father-in-law, the young woman's father, detained him, and he stayed with them 3 days. So they ate and drank and lodged there. Then it came to pass on the fourth day that they arose early in the morning, and he stood to depart. But the young woman's father said to his son-in-law, refresh your heart with a morsel of bread, and after it go your way. So they sat down, and the two of them ate and drank together. Then the young woman's father said to this man, please be content and stay all night, and let your heart be merry. And when the young man stood to depart, his father-in-law urged him, so he lodged there again. Then he arose early in the morning on the fifth day to depart, but the young woman's father said, please refresh your heart. So they delayed until afternoon, and both of them ate. Well, where's the daughter at? Then when the man stood to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the young woman's father, said, look, the day is now drawn towards evening. Please spend the night. See, the day is coming to an end. Lodge here that your heart may be merry. Tomorrow you go your way early, that you will get home. However, the man was not willing to spend the night, so he rose and departed and came opposite of Jebus, which is Jerusalem. With them there were 2 saddle donkeys. His concubine was also with him. They were near Jebus, and the day was far spent. And the servant said to his master, come, please let us turn inside the city for the Jebusites and lodge him there. But his master said to him, we will not turn aside here into the city of foreigners who are not the children of Israel. We will go on to Gibeah. So he said to the servant, come, let us draw near to one of these places and spend the night in Gibeah. Oh, Gibeah, not Gibeah, or in Ramah. And they passed by and went their way, and the sun went down on them near Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin. They turned aside there to go into the lodge of Gibeah. And when he went in, he sat down to the open square of the city, for no one would take them into his house to spend the night. Just then an old man came in from his work in the field at evening, who was also from the mountains of Ephraim. He was staying in Gibeah, whereas the men of the place were Benjamites. And when he raised his eyes, he saw the travelers in the open square of the city. And the old man said, where are you going, and where do you come from? And he said to him, we are passing from Bethlehem into Judah towards the remote mountains of Ephraim. I am from there. I went to Bethlehem in Judah, and now I'm going to the house of the Lord. But there was no one who would take me into his house, although we have both straw and fodder for our donkeys, and bread and wine for myself, and for your female servant, and for the young man who is with your servant. There is no lack of anything. And the young man said to him, peace be with you. However, let all your needs be my responsibility, not only to spend the night in the open square. So he brought him to his house and gave fodder to the donkeys, and they washed their feet and ate and drank. As they were enjoying themselves, suddenly certain men of the city, perverted men, surrounded the house and beat on the door. And they spoke to the master of the house, saying, the old man, bring the man who came to your house, that we may know him carnally. Ew. But the master of the house, went out to them and said, no, my brethren, I beg you not to act so wickedly. Seeing this man has come to my house, did not commit this outrage. Look, here is my virgin daughter and the man's concubine. Please let me bring them out, humble them, and do with them as you please. But to this man do no such vile thing, which is crazy. But the man would not heed him. So the man took his concubine and brought her out to them, and they began to know her, and they abused her all night until morning. And when the day began to break, they let her go. That is crazy. Then the woman came as the day was dawning and fell down at the door of the man's house where her master was till it was light. That is wild. When her master arose in the morning and opened the door of the house and went to go out his way, there was his concubine fallen at the door with her hands on the threshold. And he said to her, get up, let us be going. But there was no answer. So the man lifted her on the donkey, and the man got up and went to his place. When he entered his house, he took a knife, laid hold of the concubine, and divided her into 12 pieces, limb by limb, and sent her throughout the territory of Israel. And it was so, all who saw it, no such deed has been done or seen from the day that the children of Israel came up out of the land of Egypt until this day. Consider it, confer, and speak up. So he sent pieces of his concubine out to show what they did to her. And they said, round it up. Crazy. Chapter 20, all Israel gathers against Gibeon. So all the children of Israel came out from Dan to Beersheba, as well as the land of Gilead. And the congregation gathered together as one man before the Lord at Mizpah. And the leaders of all the people, all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 foot soldiers who drew a sword. Then the children of Israel said, "Tell us, how did this wicked deed happen?" So the Levite, the husband of the woman who was murdered, answered, "My concubine and I went into Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin, to spend the night. And the men of Gibeah rose against me and surrounded the house at night because of me. And they intended to kill me, but instead they ravished my concubine, so she died. So I took hold of my concubine, cut her in pieces, and sent her throughout all the territories of Israel, because they committed lewdness and outrage in Israel. Look, all of you are children of Israel, give your advice and counsel here and now." So all the people arose as one man, saying, "None of us will go to his tent, nor any turn back to his house. But now this is the thing which we must do to Gibeon. We will go against it by lot. We will take 10 men out of every 100 throughout the tribes of Israel, 100 of every 1,000, and 1,000 of every 10,000, to make provisions for the people, that when they come to Gibeon in Benjamin, they will repay all the violence that they have done to Israel." So the men of Israel gathered against the city, united together as one man. So they're united as one people. But where is the Lord? Where is God? We have no leader to give them any type of direction. Then tribes of Israel sent men throughout the tribe of Benjamin, saying, "What is this wickedness that has occurred among you? Now therefore deliver up the men, the perverted men who are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death and remove the evil from Israel." But the children of Benjamin would not listen to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel. Instead, the children of Benjamin gathered together from their cities to Gibeah to go to battle against the children of Israel. So we got one tribe going to battle against the rest of like the 11, because they don't want to listen about the stuff that happened in their land. Crazy. Crazy, 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 crazy. And from the cities at the time, the children of Benjamin numbered 26,000 who drew the sword, beside the inhabitants of Gibeon, who numbered 700 select men. Among all those people were 700 select men who were left-handed. Everyone could sling a stone at a hair's breadth and not miss. I wonder where Daniel came from, because talk about slinging a stone. Anyway, now besides Benjamin, the men of Israel numbered 400,000 men who drew the sword. All of those were men of war. So we got 400,000 of Israel versus 26,000 of Benjamin. Then the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God to inquire of God. Finally, they said, "Which of us shall go up first to battle against the children of Benjamin?" The Lord said, "Judah first." So the children of Israel rose in the morning and encamped against Gibeah, and the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin, and the men of Israel put themselves in battle array to fight against them at Gibeon. Then the children of Benjamin came out of Gibeon on that day and cut down to the ground 22,000 men of the Israelites, more than half. Wow. And the people, that is, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves again and formed a battle line at the place where they put themselves around the first day. Then the children of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until evening and asked counsel of the Lord, saying, "Shall I again draw near battle against the children of my brother Benjamin?" And the Lord said, "Go up against him." So the children of Israel approached the children of Benjamin on the second day, and Benjamin went out against them from Gibeah on the second day and cut down to the ground 18,000 more children of Israel. All these drew the sword. So that's 40,000 of them, sheesh, down. Then all the children of Israel, that is, all the people, went up and came to the Lord of God and wept, and they sat there before the Lord and fasted that day until evening, and they offered burnt offerings and peace offering before the Lord. So the children of Israel inquired of the Lord. The Ark of the Covenant was there in those days, and Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it this day, saying, "Shall I yet go up to battle against the children of my brother Benjamin, or shall I cease?" And the Lord said, wow, the Lord said, "Go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into your hand." Hold on now. Even when you take several L's, if the Lord says, continue, dot, 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 you continue. Because we know the Lord doesn't always want us to win when it looks like we're going to win. So when they had 40,000 and Gibeah had, what, 27,000? He said, send half of them. They took half of them down. Send the other half, took them down. Like, God don't be wanting to win when it looked like you're going to win. Like, he wanted to win when it looked like you are not going to win, and it's all because of God. Then Israel set men in ambush all around Gibeah, and the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the third day and put themselves in battle array against Gibeah as the other times. So the children of Benjamin went out against the people and were drawn away from the city. They began to strike down and kill some of the people as the other times in the highways and in the field about 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin said, they are defeated before us as at first. But the children of Israel said, let us flee and draw them away from the city to the highways. So all the men of Israel So all the men of Israel rose from their place and put themselves in battle array at Baal Tamar. Then Israel's men in ambush burst forth from their position in the plain of Geba, and 10,000 select men from Israel all came against Gibeah, and the battle was fierce. But the Benjamites did not know that disaster was upon them. The Lord defeated Benjamin before Israel, and the children of Israel destroyed that day 22,100 Benjamites, all of these that drew the sword. So the children of Benjamin saw that they were defeated. The men of Israel have given ground to the Benjamites because they relied on the men in ambush whom they sent against Gibeah. And the men in ambush quickly rushed upon Gibeah. The men in ambush spread out and struck the whole city with the edge of the sword. Hey, the edge of the sword. Now the appointed signal between the men of Israel and the men in ambush was that they would make a great cloud of smoke rise above the city, whereupon the men of Israel would turn in battle. Now Benjamin had begun to strike and kill about 30 of the men of Israel, for they said, surely they are defeated before us as in the first battle. But when the cloud began to rise from the city in a column of smoke, the Benjamites looked behind them, and there was the whole city going up in smoke to heaven. And when the men of Israel turned back, the men of Benjamin panicked, for they saw disaster had come upon them. Therefore they turned their backs before the men of Israel in the direction of the wilderness. But the battle overtook them, and whoever came out of the cities they destroyed in their midst. They surrounded the Benjamites and chased them, and easily trampled them as far as the front of the Gibeah towards the east. And 18,000 men of Benjamin fell, and all these were men of valor. Then they turned and fled towards the wilderness of the rock of Rimmon, and they cut down 5,000 of them on the highways. Then they pursued them relentlessly up to Gittim, and they killed 2,000 of them. So all of those who fell of Benjamin that day were 25,000 men who drew the sword, and all of these were men of valor. But 600 men turned and fled towards the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon, and they stayed at the rock of Rimmon for 4 months. And the men of Israel turned back against the children of Benjamin and struck them down with the edge of the sword from every city, men and beasts, all who were found. And they also set fire to all the cities that came to. This is the last chapter, okay? Chapter 21. Wives are needed for the Benjamites. Now the men of Israel had sworn an oath at Mizpah, saying, none of us shall give his daughters to Benjamin as a wife. And the people came to the house of God and remained there before God till evening. They lifted up their voices and wept bitterly and said, O Lord God of Israel, why has this come to pass in Israel that today there should be one tribe missing in Israel? So it was on the next morning that the people rose and built an altar there and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. The children of Israel said, who is there among the tribes of Israel who did not come up with the assembly to the Lord? For they had made a great oath concerning anyone who had not come up to the Lord at Mizpah, saying, he shall surely be put to death. And the children of Israel grieved for Benjamin, their brother, and said, one tribe is cut off from Israel today. What shall we do for wives for those who remain, seeing that we have sworn by the Lord that we would not give them our daughters as wives? And they said, what one is there from the tribes of Israel who did not come to Mizpah to the Lord? And in fact, no one had come from the camp of Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For when the people were counted, indeed, not one of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead was there. So the congregation set out 12,000 of their most valiant men and commanded them, saying, Go and strike the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, including the women and children. And this is the thing that you shall do. You shall utterly destroy every male and every woman who has known a man intimately. So they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins. Hold on real quick. Stay on here on TikTok. I'm about to look something up. Because why was Jabesh Gilead attacked? In Judges. Oh, because they did not join. In Judges. Why did the Israelites kill people of Gilead? Okay. In Judges. Okay, the minutes. Oh, well, this is Gilead. Hold on. Oh, okay. So it was right. Okay, so the reason why that they lost connection, switching between. Okay, whatever. The reason why they attacked them at Jabesh Gilead was because nobody from their tribe went to help the war. Nobody helped fight. That's why. Okay, a little confused. So they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins who had not known a man intimately, and they brought them to the camp at Shiloh, which is the land of Canaan. Jabesh Gilead and Shiloh yield wives, and the whole congregation sent word to the children of Benjamin who were at the rock of Rimmon and announced peace to them. So Benjamin came back at that time, and they gave them women who they had saved alive from the women of Jabesh Gilead. And yet they had not found enough for them, and the people grieved for Benjamin because the Lord had made void the tribes of Israel. Then the elders of the congregation said, What shall we do for the wives of those who remain, since the women of Benjamin have been destroyed? And they said, There must be an inheritance for the survivors of Benjamin, that the tribe may not be destroyed from Israel. However, we cannot give them wives from our daughters, for the children of Israel have sworn an oath, saying, Cursed be the ones who gives wives to Benjamin. Then they said, In fact, there is a yearly feast of the Lord in Shiloh, which is north of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goes up from Bethel to Shechem, on the south of Lebanon. Therefore they instructed the children of Benjamin, saying, Go, lie in wait in the vineyards and watch, and just when the daughters of Shiloh come out to perform their dances, then come out from the vineyards, and every man catch a wife from himself from the daughters of Shiloh, then go back to the land of Benjamin. Then it shall be, when their fathers or their brothers come out to complain, that we will say to them, Be kind to them for our sakes, because we did not take a wife for any of them in war, for it is not as though you have given the woman to them this time, making yourself guilty of oath. Oh, so they're saying, if we take them, you didn't give them. Wow. Then you didn't give them. Wow. And the children, making yourselves guilty of your oath. Okay. And the children of Benjamin did so, and they took enough wives for their number, for those who danced from who they caught. Then they went and returned to their inheritance, and they rebuilt the cities and dwelt there. So the children of Israel departed from there at a time, every man to his tribe and family. And they went out from there, every man to his inheritance. In those days there was no king in Israel, and everybody did what was right in their own eyes. So, wow. Everybody did what was right in their own eyes, which is crazy. So that was the first reading. I normally read at 5 o'clock, which is in 3 hours. But as I said before, I'm very behind with all the travel. So I'm throwing in some readings here and there. Thank you for those who came and watched. And I hope to see you at 5 o'clock tonight. Bye.